So welcome to the second video. We finished video 1 with the question, is Mary an employee or an independent contractor? Well, Mary is probably an independent contractor uh, because she's being paid on an irregular basis upon the completion of each course. But it gets a little gray. And the reason I say that is because there are factors that determine whether or not somebody is an independent contractor. So the biggest key point for determining whether or not someone is an independent contractor is the degree of control that the principal has. So if we look at Mary's case, the principal is the organization. And how much control do they have over Mary? They have Mary in there for a 40-hour work week. She's using their offices, and they're telling her she can't go anywhere else. That kind of gets into this gray area of, well, is Mary an employee or an independent contractor? And I'm going to show you some examples of companies that have gotten some pretty hefty fines for not categorizing an employee the correct way. For a while, major companies were using independent contractors instead of employees because of the cost of benefits. They don't want to pay benefits. So they figure if they can just categorize them in as an independent contractor, they're off the hook. But not really. What happens is that if the government gets wind that the principal or the organization is controlling the ins and outs of an independent contractor, then they could argue and say, no, they're actually an employee and you need to pay them benefits. And that's why it really matters. So here I have a couple headlines here. Jury awards more than $1.3 million in back wages and damages for 101 former employees at a defunct Bellingham business. Arizona contractor ordered to pay $48,000 in worker misclassification case. And I'm going to click on this link here. And this is a class action lawsuit that is going on. And it says federal agencies are cracking down on employers who misclassify their employees as independent contractors. Workers can take matters into their own hands by filing lawsuits to recover back pay and other benefits. And this is from 2017, and I will share this link in the discussion forum just so you have something to look at. But essentially, if they're telling, a person that they have to be on a job from 8 to 5, and this is what time they have to take lunch, and they're using the organization's tools, then they're not an independent contractor. They're an actual employee. All right, class, let's take the information that is in your book from the previous video and in the discussion forum and do some question and answer. It will help to give a clearer understanding of the material, hopefully. All right, so the first question, it's a true or false question. A promissory note for the purchase of an automobile qualifies as a negotiable instrument. So promissory note for the purchase of an automobile qualifies as a negotiable instrument. True or false? And the answer is true. Remember, a promissory note is simply a promise to pay someone. Second question, when does the drawee become liable for payment of a draft? A, when the drawer signs it. B, automatically upon its creation. C, upon accepting it. Or D, upon the performance of the underlying obligation. I'll give you a second here. And the answer is C, upon accepting it. Next, Karen has a checking account at First Bank. Karen writes a check to Bonanza Apartments for her rent. In this situation, I'm going to give you a minute to read through each of these answers, A through E, and decide whether Karen is the drawer, the drawee, the payee, or the maker. All right, hopefully you have had a chance to read through them. And the answer is A. Karen is the drawer. She's drawing from First Bank. So First Bank is the drawee. Bonanza Apartments is the payee. Sandy signs a negotiable instrument that orders Sally to pay $1,000 to the order of Pat on May 4th, 2001. What type of instrument is this? A promissory note, B, a time draft, C, a check, D, a sight draft, or E, a money order? And the answer is B, a time draft. And why? Because Sandy signed it and ordered for Sally to pay on May 4th, 2001. So it has a specific time. And that's why it's called a time draft. All right, next one. An agency always requires A, both an agent and a principal who are adults, B, a written contract, C, consideration on the part of both the principal and the agent. So consideration, remember that's like money for a goods or money for an item. D, an identified underlying transaction, or E, intent by both the principal and agent to be in an arrangement. So an agency always requires E, an intent. There doesn't always have to be a written contract. There just has to be intent that there's an arrangement. And I'm not talking about agency contract. I'm talking about agency in and of itself. All right. Someone authorized to act on behalf of another is generally known as an agent, an independent contractor, an employee, or a surety. And the answer is A, agent. Someone who's authorized to act on behalf of another is known as an agent. So think about the whole real estate agent scenario. We have the seller of the house who hired a real estate agent to deal with a buyer, the marketing, the open houses, those types of situations. All right, and last one is a situation. Pedro hires Andrea to negotiate the purchase of a sailboat for Pedro. So Pedro hired Andrea. Now Andrea decides to buy from Sally a sailboat that meets Pedro's specifications. Andrea tells Sally that the purchase is really being made by Pedro, and Andrea and Sally sign a written contract, with Andrea signing on Pedro's behalf. Based on all of this, A, Pedro is not liable on this contract, but Andrea would be. B, neither Andrea nor Pedro can be held liable on this contract. C, Andrea is not liable on this contract, but Pedro is liable. Or D, either Andrea or Pedro could be held liable on this contract. And the answer is C. Andrea is not liable on this contract, but Pedro is. So by hiring Andrea as an agent, she has the ability to negotiate the purchase of the sailboat. Pedro gave her the authority on his behalf. She's just the agent, which is why Andrea would not be liable, but Pedro would be. Now, there could be a case where Andrea might be liable if she fraudulently signed an agreement that Pedro did not give her authority to sign. All right, guys, that's the end of this video lecture. You have video 1 and video 2. I will be posting a separate post in the discussion regarding labor contracts. That's an entity all on its own. And again, I just want you to have a general understanding of it, but it's still important nonetheless. So I hope that you found this helpful. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You are more than welcome to text me as long as it's before 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can email me. You can message me. We can chat in Moodle. So again, reach out to me. Check the highlights in your book. I made highlights for chapter 15. Bring forth any of your questions or concerns into the discussion forum, because there might be other students that aren't getting a certain concept, and they don't want to be the only ones to say anything. And so when you bring questions in, it really helps the entire class. The discussion forum is our only platform for a classroom because we're online. And I don't know if you're struggling if you don't tell me. So help me out. I want to help you out. And I hope that you continue to find these useful. Thanks.